Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. So, I just want to rapid fire off some. Sorry about that. My phone's acting up, or had something on it. Whatever. Either way, I just wanted to rapid fire off some random NBA stuff. Literally, absolutely, utterly random. Nothing of premier importance, or nothing that would make you say, "Oh my God, this is something that everybody's talking about." No, this is literally whatever comes to my head, because there's been a lot of stuff going on in the NBA that I've only vaguely paid attention to. And so I can't really give you details, but what I can say is the stuff that I have been paying attention to has been rather noteworthy. So where do I want to start? Lance Stephenson. He went off for 30 plus points in his Pacer debut. Obviously, he made his biggest name with the Pacers early in his career, with that team that they had with Paul George and, of course, our coach Frank Vogel. Those guys, Roy Hibbert, they made some noise. And, like most people during that era, they ran into LeBron James and had to bow away. But, I look at that as like the Knicks going up against the Bulls, the Indiana Pacers from the Jordan era going up against the Bulls, the Sacramento Kings going up against the Lakers. Like, these are teams that didn't win it, but you ain't never forgot those teams. They left an impact because they were who pushed the champions to their level. If it wasn't for those great teams to be their opponents, we wouldn't have had some of those battles that we saw. So I look at that team as one of those teams, and I think Lance Stephenson coming back to that place, it's par for the course. It's right for him, and just like many other players who are going to be going through the process of trying to get 10-day contracts during this COVID era, there's going to be opportunities for them to get back in the league. We've seen Joe Johnson, we've seen Isaiah Thomas, we see Lance Stephenson, etc. Guys was coming back into the league and getting a chance to show what they can do. And Lance, he had been away from the Pacers for so long. This is his third stint with the Pacers. And if I'm not mistaken, when he went back there a second time, he had some type of crazy first week or something like that where he balled out. It's just something about that navy blue and yellow uniform, being in that Pacers environment, that brings out the best in Lance Stephenson. And I'm happy he's there. Lance was a fantastic Laker for us during a time when the Lakers weren't very good. We had our kids, so we weren't playing for nothing. But Lance was a whole lot of fun. And the thing about Lance is he's super, super athletic. Even in his older age, he's still got mad handles. He's still twice as fast as the average player. He's still twice as strong as the average player his size. So, I've always been somebody who appreciated Lance Stephenson. I wish he would have played for a Laker team that was winning something, because I think that's where he deserves to be, in a winning situation. And I don't think that him being out of the league is a reflection of him not being able to physically play. I just think that he had a reputation for being kind of wild a little bit. And that kind of left teams looking at him saying, okay, we can kind of live without him a little bit. But all in all, he was a stand-up player for the Lakers, model citizen, never gave us any reason to look at him funny, and always excited our crowd 100% of the time. He would get streaky, hit 2 and 3 threes in a row, get a big dance, a big dunk, and then do his guitar dance. All of that was just great energy in a time where it wasn't a whole lot of winning going on in LA. So I just want to shout out Lance Stephenson. Welcome back to the league, and I hope he stays. I hope he stays in the league. He deserves to finish his career in a way that you actually see his decline, rather than just saying, oh, he's up and out. When the last time I saw him, he was balling, like he could still keep up with these youngsters. So unlike some players that we see here and there that have lost a step or two, I think that Lance Stephenson is one of those guys who I didn't see that. So I'm glad he's back. All right, completely different topic. Kevin Porter Jr. Now, I know it's been some talk about Kevin Porter Jr. He's been going in and out of the lineup with injuries, stuff like that, COVID protocol, plays for the Rockets. It's been tough because the situation in Cleveland, everybody remembers how that went. It was alleged that he threw some food at one of the coaches or something like that because they gave his locker to Taurean Prince. They traded him for a bag of peanuts, and he's turned into a young superstar caliber prospect, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a superstar. I don't think there's any question about that. But I can see where other people have questions because it's still early. But nevertheless, he had a situation earlier in the week where I guess he spazzed out in another way. I don't know what happened. I think they suspended him for a game or something of that nature. A couple players spazzed out on the coach, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's how that went. But I didn't follow the story, nor did I do a video on it. But forget all that. Kevin Porter came back from that situation where he was out and hit the game winner against the Washington Wizards last night. Fall away 3-point shot. danced on Raul Neto on a switch where it was initially KCP guarding him. I felt Raul Neto probably should not have switched there. You definitely want KCP guarding that guy at that point. But he did a little dance, pulled off a rhythm shot, stroked it, walked off the court, feeling good about himself, and deservingly so. This is going to be one of the best guards in the league one day. And I told you guys that when he was playing in the G League. When he had just left Cleveland, just got to the Rockets, and they sent him down to the G League, and he put up legendary numbers down there. And the numbers he was putting up was godly, like outer-worldly numbers in the G League. And I said, you guys, I said it back at the time, I was at my job at the time, and I sat there, I said, man, Kevin Porter Jr. is going to be a very great player one day. It's not even a question about it. They just need to call him up and give him the spot and just let him run. And luckily enough, the Rockets are the perfect team for the young fella because they have a young core full of talented players, enough veteran players to kind of keep things afloat to a degree. They don't really have a lot of veteran leadership, but you got your Eric Gordons there. And that kind of thing is really, really helpful for a young team because now they got a bunch of young stars that can all run together, all grow together. You know, you're looking at, obviously, Jalen Green, Alfred Sengun, Jason Tate. They just have a boatload of good young players, Josh Christopher. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And so they can all grow together. The core is intact. And I just think it's set up for him to be featured forevermore in that Rocket situation. So kudos to him for finding his way through the situation he just went through the various situations he's been dealing with. Like I said, it ain't been an easy road for this young fella at all. But you know, he's put the Rockets basically on the map, in my opinion. Him, Jalen Green's pick, you know, Christian Wood, of course. As a collective, that young team is going to be very, very exciting, and it's going to gross a lot of money for their owner. So that's what I think about the Rockets. Kudos to their team, and definitely kudos to young Kevin. All right, next thing I want to talk about is, let's see, like I said, this is rapid fire off the top of the dome. I don't even know. There was something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, Trey Young. Hey, look, Trey Young, the Lakers are going to be playing Trey Young tomorrow. It's a real tricky thing for me in regards to Trey Young because I definitely look at him as an elite MVP caliber guard. Ain't no question about his numbers. I look at him as a new age Iverson without the defense because Iverson was great defensively, stealing the ball particularly. That's not at all his game, but he's so great offensively. Like Isaiah Thomas, like Steve Nash, like Steph Curry, players like that. You don't care nothing about them playing no defense. You'd be happy to take whatever they give you because offensively they're going to be the best defense for you. And that's exactly what I think of Trey Young. He's just a phenomenal teardrop type of player, layup player, 3 points, mechanics, all of that stuff, consistency, can take the leadership role, put the team on his back, all that. He's built for what it is he's involved in. I think the problem with the Atlanta Hawks is the same thing I said in a video about them. They really do have a lot of talent. And that's a great problem to have unless you are top heavy with a player like Trey Young who can take 25 shots a game comfortably. I think if this were any other franchise, damn near any other franchise, they would be in great shape with all the assets that the Hawks have. But because the Hawks are so Trey Young centric, I do believe that they would be best without so many ball handlers, so many players who need rhythm looks, multiple looks to get in rhythm, consistent looks to get in rhythm. It's okay to have talented players. It's okay to have a lot of talented players, but it's about what those players can do for you. And I just think that they, with all of the assets that they have, they can shuffle the deck and give themselves something that's a bit more fitting for a player to take 25 shots. Because I look at a guy like Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter's going to need like 15 shots a game. Look at a guy like Cam Reddish, same thing, maybe even higher, maybe 20. And I look at a guy like, who else? They got a young point guard that I never remember his name. He's sitting on the back of their bench. They just drafted him in the second round, and I already believe him to be one of the best facilitators in basketball. Already, as a rookie, day one, without any minutes on the back of somebody's bench. I know him to be one of the best passers in all of the NBA today. And if he were given an opportunity to facilitate, let's say he goes to a team that needs a facilitator like the Clippers. You put that kid that they have on the back of that Hawks bench on the Clippers, he's probably going to average 7 or more assists out the gate. And that's the type of thing I'm talking about. There's no way for him to get on the floor and show that he's elite at what that thing is, because he's going to be playing behind Trey Young, who's going to get 40 minutes a game. So it's like Sharif Cooper is his name. Nobody's ever heard of Sharif Cooper because, like I said, he's a second-round pick. But if you go watch some highlights on him, you'll understand. He passes just as good as Lonzo Ball, passes just as good as Ben Simmons. He's one of those guys. He's a floorman, he's an orchestrator, and he's somebody who's going to immediately make everyone better. They can't even get him on the floor because Trey Young's out there. So it's like, and you look, you got Gallinari. Gallinari's a guy like Kevin Love, who in any moment can have a good stretch of basketball where he looks like an all-star again. Bogdanovich has turned himself into a 30-point scorer. He needs multiple looks. You know, he's a guy who's going to need a lot of shots in order to be his best self. And that's the type of thing that they have all over the roster. I didn't even get to JJ. I think his name is Jackson. I don't know what his name is because he doesn't get any playing time, but he was also drafted, had a fantastic summer league, is a power forward player who can immediately come to a team and make them better just from the type of prototype that he is and the type of talent that he has. He's on the back of their bench. God, I didn't even mention Clint Capella. I didn't even mention the power forward that they got that I never remember his name, but he's a very good player who I'd love to have on this team. They just have a bunch of talent. And then you got Trey Young out there who's taking 100 shots a game. It's just, you got too much talent that needs to score. You could trade some of those guys for pieces that fit Trey Young and you'd be fine. So that's what I think the Hawks should do, because they're one of the best teams in the world for assets. They got it all. Young players, old players, good contracts, bad contracts, picks forever. They got it all. So they just need to shuffle it up and do some work. I think they can make a good trade and make themselves a lot better. All right. Let's see. Who else I want to talk about? I'm really excited about the draft class this year. I made a video at the beginning of the summer when we were first looking at the draft class and finding out who was going where. And I feel really good about the predictions I made, man. Especially my Cleveland prediction. I didn't think Cleveland would be this good this soon at all, but the framework for them being a good team was evident as soon as they picked up Mobley. As soon as they picked him up, I was like, oh, okay, we got to throw out what we know about Cleveland. You go back and watch that video earlier when I was talking about the draft. I told everybody, I was like, if he goes to Cleveland, what they have is a dynamic that very few teams have. And that's two twin towers that's going to block everything. And I mean everything. And not only is it enough for them to have a twin tower, but one of them is like Anthony Davis, to where he's highly, highly defensively efficient and never fouls. And then on the other end can drop 25, 30 points, stretching the floor and do all types of different stuff, including passing the rock. So as far as I'm concerned, Evan Mobley is about to be one of the best players in all of basketball, probably within the next 3 years. He's going to be an MVP candidate, no question about it. And then I look at his counterpart there, Jared Allen. Jared Allen is one of the underrated players in this league, very underrated, and continues to be somebody that you should never, ever try. So those are two players, that can block a shot. Then they picked up Laurie Markin. Now, I didn't think that was a good pickup. Boy, was I wrong, because they had a vision for bringing him to the three, and now they have 3 7-footers in their starting lineup, all of which can block shots, all of which can do different things so that they don't get in each other's way. And Laurie Markin has had a resurgence because he looks like the old Laurie Markin. Even though he's gone in and out of the lineup, he looks great in Cleveland. It's a better fit for him. Darius Garland, one of my picks. If you followed me from 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, you know that I felt the same way about Darius Garland as it pertains to a player that I liked off rip. Just like Evan Mobley, Darius Garland was the guy before that, the year before, and he just so happened to go to Cleveland. So for me, I was telling everybody, Darius Garland gonna be the truth. He's like Kyrie Irving because he has crazy handles and crazy shooting ability. Crazy everything, really. He can pass like a madman. He's going to be a juggernaut one day. And because Cleveland and Kobe Altman, one of my favorite GMs in the league right now, has the understanding of what it takes to put together a full basketball team. He has rebounders, defensive players, shooters, in all different areas that can help the team. He can have a guy like Colin Sexton be on the floor or not, and they still run just the same because they have passers in other positions. They don't need Colin Sexton to be a facilitator. You know, they got a situation where, you know, you got Isaac Okoro who doesn't score but does everything else, and it fits in just fine because he can play the Draymond role while everybody else does what they need to do. If you need a secondary ball handler, they also have that in Ricky Rubio before he went down. You know what I mean? So they just put together a good team. You can clearly see that their vision for what a basketball team should be is exactly what it's going to take to win. So I was able to put all that together pretty much on draft night. I saw all of this coming. And the only concern that I had was Colin Sexton having the Trey Young effect, taking shots away from everybody else because he's a volume scorer. Well, he went down with a knee. So you don't have that dynamic there even better, in my opinion. So this is a situation where I'm like, I told you guys, I expect Cleveland to be a championship contender within 3 years because of the dynamic of those two Twin Towers and the fact that Garland's going to be a fantastic guard in this league. Couple that with the Okoro and all these other different pieces that seem to be a vision for their team. You couple all that off, and they're going to be a champion soon. If not champion, they're going to be coming out of the East at some point. Now, there's obviously monkey wrenches, super teams can be formed, all different types of stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to deal with them two stilts. And in a 7-game series, no one wants to face Mobley and Allen. You don't want that. Not in a 7-game series. I don't think anybody wants that. Not even teams that are better than them. You don't want to face Cleveland. If I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I'm going to be honest with you. If I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I do not want to see Cleveland. And it's not because I don't think I can outscore them or overpower them with my 3 stars. It's the fact of the matter that they're going to be so disruptive defensively. So very disruptive because of those stilts. So, yeah, keep an eye on Cleveland. They're not a fluke. They're not going away. They'll be just as good next year so long as Mobley and Allen stay healthy. If those 2 players are healthy, they're going to be a playoff team for as long as that's the case. Remember the Twin Towers in San Antonio? Yeah, they've recreated that. That's what's happened there. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. I don't want to talk about my Lakers. I talk about them too much. I don't even want to get into that. The Clippers have found something. Without Paul George, without any facilitator, they found something. And the reason that is the case, in my opinion, and I don't watch them, is because they have the best coach in the league. And this is coming from somebody who did not want Ty Lue. I wanted Frank Vogel over Ty Lue. A lot has changed since then. Hail to the GOAT. He's the best coach in the league right now. He makes the best adjustments. He makes the best rotations. He makes the most out of nothing. He was able to maneuver the LeBron era without hardly any assistance from players not being healthy and things of that nature. He was able to get that team to the final. You just got to respect Ty Lue, man. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. You like the Clippers. They got a lot of stuff going on over there with players like Hartenstein, of whom was also a part of that Cavs team from 2 years ago that I used to tell everybody about. He's turned into somebody, not surprising to me. They got a guy by the name of Coffee on the back of their bench who's doing some good things. I just kind of looked at him on a fantasy statistical kind of thing. I haven't seen the highlights, but I'm aware he's doing good things. So you just got to take your hat off to the Clippers because they're managing tremendous amounts of injuries and really some holes in their roster just in general. I still think they should make a move for Sharif Cooper. I really believe that. I think Sharif Cooper is the player that if I'm the Clippers or if I'm a team that doesn't have a facilitator, I'm going after. I'm calling Atlanta up and I'm getting that kid out of that roster. So that's something I'm putting out there. What else? Okay, the Pelicans. Check this out. The Pelicans have some young talent on their team that's really good. There are some guys on that Pelican team that you probably want to pick off that roster. One being Herb Jones. I believe his name is Herb Jones. I looked at his stats. He's filling up the box score in just about every category. He does steals, assists, rebounds, blocks, a little bit of everything. Score, he does everything. And from what I understand, he makes his money on the defensive end. So pay attention to the Herb guy. I think his last name is Jones. But pay attention to Herb on the Pelicans because he's starting to make a name for himself. Okay, my very favorite rookie in all of this year. And I know we've mentioned, obviously, Evan Mobley. Another one of my guys that I like from this year most definitely is Scotty Barnes. I'm a super fan of the Lakers guy that we got, Austin Reeves. Those are my favorite rookies right now. But my very, very favorite, pick one player out of the draft and give me him for 15 years. My favorite player in all of this draft is a guy that the Pelicans have by the name of Trey Murphy III. Trey Murphy gets no minutes. Makes no sense. I think Trey Murphy has a chance to be the next great shooter in this league. That's what I think. I think from what I saw and the homework that I did on that kid, he has Tim Duncan type of demeanor in terms of how he approaches the game from a thinker standpoint. When you sit there and listen to him talk about the game, he reminds me of about a 30-minute interview that I watched when I was a kid on Tim Duncan talk about the game. It was the exact same energy that I got from him. They're both very, very smart, to say the least. Trey has, like I said, he has the potential to be a great shooter, but he also has the ability to put the ball on the floor. He has a good handle for his size. He also has long arms and good defensive instincts that will allow him to kind of do some great things on that side of the floor as well. I think he could be a two-way player. And he has good size, good height, so you can play him in multiple positions. He's a walking bucket beyond your understanding. Like when I say a walking bucket, you leave him behind the three-point line, and like Klay Thompson, he's probably not going to need many dribbles to get to 30 points. He's one of those. His three-point shot is one of the most beautiful strokes I've ever seen, and he is going to dominate one day. The only problem that he's run into is the situation he's in. That's it. Because I could argue you can put him on any team in the league right now, and he'll make an impact. And I believe that. I think the problem with him, and not only that, but when you give him minutes, he really does well a lot of time, except for with the Pelicans. He has not had a good start to his season. But in the summer league, he was balling. In college, he went crazy. In this, combine, he went nuts. He's just one of those guys who, kind of like Kyle Kuzma, or like THT, they're drafted lower, they're treated lower, but you believe in what they can become, and you know that if they're in the right situation, they can become that soon. So with THT, the Lakers just rolled the dice. It hasn't worked out. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, what I'm saying to you is this is somebody who I know. You put him on any team in the league that needs shooting, and suddenly they don't need shooting anymore. It's literally that simple. He's one of those. I want the Pelicans to play this kid, and that's it. Trey Murphy III. When he becomes what he's going to become, you'll remember. You heard it here at BDF. I told y'all. He's the truth. Not just, he's pretty. No, he's the truth. He's just on the back of a bench, and they're not playing him like he's supposed to be played. But if I were coaching the Pelicans, he would probably be getting 10 shots a game as a rookie. Preferably all threes. So that's what I want to say out there. I know what he can do. Let's keep it going. It's a lot to say. Nikola Jokic is not getting enough credit at all. Nikola Jokic is an MVP caliber player every year, has been since pretty much year 3. He's arguably the second best facilitator in all of basketball behind LeBron James. And you guys know I think the world of Lonzo Ball. I think the world of LaMelo Ball. There's some fantastic facilitators, Draymond Green, Steve Nash. Not Steve Nash, of course Steve Nash, but I'm talking about active players. Chris Paul is who I was thinking about. Facilitators, man. I think that Jokic might be the second greatest one behind our King James. It's not only that he has the passing gift, it's just that he's taller than everybody else, so he can see over you. You know what I mean? He can see the whole floor. He can see everything. There's not a pass he can't make. You know what I mean? And not only that, but he's turned himself into an elite defensive player, which doesn't get enough credit because he does a fantastic job on everybody but AD for some reason. AD cooks him every time. But he's also turned himself into a tremendous shooter. And we talk about Karl Anthony Towns as the greatest three-point shooting center yet, in my opinion. I think Jokic is hot on his tail. Real hot on his tail. That stroke is not to be played with. So for me, I think Nikola Jokic, it's hard to say he's the MVP this year because there's so many other players putting up crazy numbers. You got Steph Curry, you got KD. King James is putting up numbers, obviously Giannis for sure. But for me, right now, if everything were to end right now, I'd probably give it to him because what he's doing with so little. And granted, KD makes a strong argument for that as well without his brothers being there for a good portion of the time. But for me, it's like, okay, this guy is down $400 million worth of teammates. Okay, let's just, that's how much they've gone through. You got, what's his name? Murray, obviously, out. He'll probably be back soon. I saw footage of him dunking recently, so windmill dunk or something. He looks like he's almost close. But then, of course, you got to deal with homie with the back, man. I want to say Gordon, but no, that's his teammate. But you guys know who I'm talking about. They just paid him a bunch of money. Michael Porter Jr. And, of course, his back is starting to really give him trouble. So it's like that contract looks bad. And Jokic is still putting up MVP numbers, still has the Denver Nuggets hovering in the playoff picture. And I just think he's doing it, putting up numbers that are, comparable to the greatest numbers we've literally ever seen. And if I'm not mistaken, up until maybe 3 weeks ago, because I haven't checked since then, statistically, it was said that he was having maybe the greatest season ever recorded. I say that reluctantly because I don't know that to be the case. But what I'm telling you is somebody says something like that, and I wouldn't doubt it because if you look at his stats, the man is putting up crazy rebounding numbers, crazy assist numbers, and of course all his scoring numbers as well. So Nikola Jokic, he gets his respect here. We don't play around about Nikola Jokic. I look at him as one of the top 5 players in all of basketball, and I think as he continues to play the way that he is, he's going to make a push for that number 1 spot. He is. He's going to make a push for it. Giannis is there, and Joel is there too. I think Joel is starting to make a name for himself in that way for me. He's always been able to put up numbers, but he's starting to really show me he's a leader this year. But yeah, those are the guys, man. I just think, and maybe we can segue into Joel. Joel is just another MVP candidate, another guy you need to keep in that echelon. The reason why I have Jokic ahead of him is the passing ability. And don't get it twisted, Joel is a genius. He can make passing plays too, but that's not his gift. He wasn't touched by God to pass the rock like Jokic. But what he can do is score like crazy. What he does have is pretty much a 3-level ability from everywhere. And he's starting to understand the importance of playing on the inside a bit more. And without Ben Simmons, he's really taking on the responsibility of holding down the fort and keep the Philadelphia 76ers at the top of the East. And I haven't looked at the standings. I don't know how they're doing, but he's putting up 30-plus numbers every single night. Like every night I see Joel play, it's 30-plus. So you just got to respect him as an MVP candidate as well and put him up there. So yeah, I wanted to say that. So here's the thing. Like at the beginning of the season, I said this: the Sacramento Kings and the Orlando Magic are going to have to do something with their guards. This was evident from the jump, and it's played out exactly the way I thought it would. First of all, the Orlando Magic are paying way too much money for their guards. Okay, they got Markelle Fultz on contract. You're going to have to pay Cole Anthony. So just mark him down. You already owe him $150+ million or whatever it's going to be. He's going to be a star. And then you look at the guy they just drafted, Jalen Suggs, who's now injured. He's going to turn into something for sure. He's one of the most complete players in all the draft. He's just in a bad situation. Why? Because he plays for the Orlando Magic and they have a bunch of guards. You know, you got Hampton down there as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's Hampton. It's got a lot of guards, man. And they got some centers too. You definitely want Mo Bamba and Wendell Carter, but they fit with one another. You can play them together, no problem, just like they got in Cleveland with those guys, Allen and Mobley. However, those 3 guard rotation players, trim that down. You can trade Markelle Fultz to get that contract up out of there and leave that spot for Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs. I think Suggs can play the 2 just fine. I think Anthony can play the 2 just fine, so it shouldn't be an issue for those 2 players. They're both dynamic. They're both going to be stars. The thing about Jalen Suggs is he's physical, football background, really, really, really gifted defensively, really, really gifted scoring, really, really gifted passing. So you know this is going to be an all-star. All he has to do is just get healthy and stay healthy. Get over the rookie jitters, because unlike a lot of the other rookies in his class, he came out struggling, but that holds no weight here. At the end of the day, I know what he can do. I know what he's going to be. So long as he gets off to a good start, Jalen Suggs is going to be a big-time star-level guard in this league. And I think the same for Cole Anthony. So I just think the Orlando Magic need to do that. Trim it down. Sacramento, same thing. At the beginning of the season, I wasn't sure what direction they should go with the 3 guards that they have. Now I am very certain what they need to do. You need to trade De'Aaron Fox. And I like De'Aaron Fox. You can trade him here if you want. But the issue with De'Aaron Fox is the rotation he's in. That's it. He's an all-star caliber player who's going to be pushing for MVP status, in my opinion, at some point in his career. He's got super high-level speed ability. We know he can play some defense, even though he hasn't been that great defensively in the pros as he was in college. We saw what he did against Lonzo Ball back then. We know he can lock people up. And he's a scoring threat at all times. Any moment he can drop 35, 40, 30. He can do that, and he's going to do it while being faster than everyone else. Him and Tyrese Maxey are the 2 fastest guys I can think of. So in my mind, I just think De'Aaron Fox, the only problem with De'Aaron Fox is his contract. Has nothing to do with his game. It certainly has nothing to do with his upside or his age. It's just that he's making too much money. The Sacramento Kings did not take into account that they would inevitably have lots of lottery picks going forward after signing him. You're a bad team. You're going to have lottery picks. And when you have lottery picks, there are going to be opportunities to get more guards, more players at the same positions that you already have. So you got to be very careful to not fall in love with guards in the draft. You know, when you have a guy that you've paid 150, 160 million dollars, whatever Fox is making, you can't then turn around and draft Tyrese Halliburton, and then turn around and draft Davion Mitchell. Now, don't get it twisted. Those players fall to you. You have to keep them, but you got to have a plan to get rid of them too. You gotta respect their value and let it go so that you can maintain the integrity of what it is that you've chosen, which is De'Aaron Fox. They didn't do that. Now they've fallen in love with the other two guards as well, and they got to figure out something to do. At the beginning of the season, I said, well, you love Fox, you're Sacramento. Nobody wants to come to Sacramento. Maybe it'd be wise to hold on to the player that chose you. But now, as we look at the situation, you got the two other guards who are probably better for what it is you're trying to build, and they don't cost as much. Ty Halliburton makes everybody better. You know, he's a facilitator and a defensive player, and he could shoot like, you know, even though the shot's ugly, it always falls. So you want him on your roster. And then Davion Mitchell, stats tell you, homie's going to lock down some of the best players ever played the game over in his generation going forward. He's going to be the guy that slows somebody down and stops him from getting a championship type guy. So you definitely do not let him off your roster. So it has to be De'Aaron Fox in this huge contract. So in my mind, Sacramento should look at the landscape of the league and move De'Aaron Fox. It's not going to be hard to do. He can let you a fantastic return. That's another thing. Sacramento, he can let you a really nice return. Even though his contract's not favorable, nobody loves that contract. He's a baby at the end of the day, and you know he can play. So it's not even an issue about whether or not he hasn't had no real injury issues, no knee injuries and all that stuff. He's fast as all hell. It's no question about somebody's going to want him. Like I said, as a Laker fan, I'd take him. We could swap. I mean, it makes no sense for you, but what I'm saying is, if you want to be a part of this Russell Westbrook deal, he can be the guy we land. We'd be happy with that. You know what I mean? We can give Russell Westbrook to you guys if that's what you want to do. Obviously, that makes no sense. But what I'm saying is, it's not the contract that pisses me off about the situation there. It's just the Sacramento Kings, can't get the most out of De'Aaron Fox, and De'Aaron Fox has given them all he probably wants to give them anyway. So he deserves to be in a situation where he can shine. I don't think the Lakers is that spot necessarily at all, but I'm saying he needs to be somewhere else. So hopefully he gets there. I only got 3 minutes left, man. I'm running out of space. It's been a long video, but I could talk basketball all night, and you guys know that. I wanted to give you one more team, man, but nothing's really coming to mind right off the top. Oh, Kyrie's back. There we go. I can give the last 3 minutes to that. Kyrie is back. Congratulations to Kyrie Irving. Welcome back to the league. He had an uneventful game, which is good because it means that he didn't have to do too much to try to adjust to getting back on the court. I didn't see the highlights, so I'm just rolling off what someone else said. But all in all, Kyrie's back for road games, which means that everybody needs to adjust to that in the Eastern Conference. All that y'all been doing out there, enjoying wins and stuff going into Brooklyn, thinking it's going to be cool because you only got to guard KD. Not anymore. If Brooklyn's coming to your house, you got to deal with Kyrie Irving, KD, and James Harden. And Patty Mills. Patty Mills has been destroying my Lakers every time we see him. And he ain't putting up no role-playing numbers or no just nice player numbers. He turns into a dang superstar when he sees us. So as far as I'm concerned, they got a big four over there. Because Patty Mills putting up 35 and 10 or whatever he's doing, that's nuts. Nobody beating them. So that's what I think. As long as they got their big three out there, nobody's beating them. So that's what it is, man. Congratulations to Kyrie on coming back. I will be looking to see if they trade him, though. Again, we talk about a guy like De'Aaron Fox. I could totally see myself trying to see if I can get De'Aaron Fox from the Nets, maybe swapping Kyrie Irving, because at the end of the day, you want a player that can be there 100% of the time. And you have to match salaries. So it's like, I don't just up and want to trade Kyrie, just like I don't want to up and trade De'Aaron Fox. But what I will not do is not get the most for the value in either situation. So as a GM, it's in my heart and mind to consider that, even though we really like those players in their respective spaces. So, yeah, that's what I got, man. That's what I got. I want to talk more, but I'm just going to run out of space. So I thank you all for watching. BBF 44, man. Peace.